Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. This is V-Belt & Son. My name is Sam. Grandma's truck back on the channel. Believe it or not, this thing's been parked for over a year. It had an issue where it would randomly not start. So, it just got to the point I was tired of putting time and energy into it that I just parked the truck. That is such a bummer to say, because this, got to remind you guys that are maybe new to the channel or what have you, but my grandma bought that truck brand new. Said it a million times. I restored it a couple years ago, drove it less than 1,000 miles. It started acting up. I know people are going to think, oh, it's an old Dodge problem. Well, technically it was one of the old Dodge parts. We'll show you guys exactly what happened, go through all the troubleshooting procedures that I did and didn't get anywhere, and overlooked the absolute stupidest thing ever. But let's go ahead and look at this truck real quick, just to remind you of how cool this thing is. And also to remind you, when I got this thing from my grandma in about 2018, that my plans were to not make it my grandma's truck again, because it's factory silver truck. I went ahead and painted it. I call it like a crayon gray, but it's a Toyota flat primer color. But I was going to make a recreation of my 96. Well, I'm glad I didn't do that, because I somehow got my 96 back. Well, let's compare these two and show you guys just a brief walk around of Grandma's and the characteristics that I implemented from my old truck into this one, and then show you why this truck's been parked for a freaking year already. But she's back. I'll show you why. So these two trucks are very similar but different, but they both carry the same exact idea. They are the last of the greats, because they are the old dinosaur mechanical engine, excellent fuel mileage, moderate power, long-lasting, durable freaking setups. And the only difference between the two, and if I was going to pick one over the other for anything, realistically, I'd go with this one, because it's got hydro boost brakes, which means it's got power from the power steering rather than vacuum like that one does. But this is a 97 12 valve. It's got 305,000 on the chassis. I got all new interior in it. It's got 4th gen Laramie leathers. It has a 6-speed manual swap out of an 04. You got brand new dash in this one. Got all the gauges like you should, fuel pressure, boost, and EGTs. 4-inch pipe on it like you should. Great Northern flatbed. I prefer these over a Bradford. There's some stuff on this that I like better. I should probably do a video when I had a Bradford comparing to this bed, but this is slick. This was a truck ideas I mimicked from Wild 96, because this thing, I did a 5-speed swap on it back in the day, and this interior is original. This truck has 361,000 miles on it now. When I bought it, it had 305. I drove it 30,000 miles, and then I sold it to somebody and bought it back with 29,000 more miles on it. And check out the dash. There is a crack up there in the center, but obviously the gauges go hand in hand. You always got to have those if you turn up the fuel and the boost a little bit. Underneath the hood, it's got about 170,000 mile 12 valve out of a 97 in it. But Grandma's truck, it does not have the original engine under it anymore, just like the other one. This one is actually a 98 12 valve engine. It is a 24 valve block, but not a 53. So I got a couple goodies over there. A Banks exhaust brake. It does have, I believe, this head studded. It's got the 60-pound valve springs, and she does okay on power. I think that one would smoke it, which is kind of ridiculous, because this truck, I put the most amount of money I've ever put into a second gen is into this truck. I could have bought like a 18 dually Laramie for the amount I got into this truck. It's ridiculous. But it's grandma's truck and it's back in the road. And let me show you everything I did trying to figure out why this thing would only start every, I don't know, 1 out of 10 times when you hit the key. It's super stupid, but we'll go over everything. So these old mechanical rigs are kind of funny because it literally has a fuel shutoff solenoid right here on the side of the injection pump. Trigger's hot to the relay here. The instant hot is to pull this big magnet closed so that it turns the fuel on. And then it's got a little charge that just simply holds that thing energized so the fuel stays on. Cut the key off and that thing falls down. That's not our issue. Our issue is we weren't getting starter. So we went over the basic things. This thing was originally an automatic truck, so I went ahead and checked the simple stuff. Checked to make sure my clutch safety switch was working. It's bypassed now, but could hook it back up. Also, checked my park safety switch. It just simply has to go to ground. It's nothing extreme right there. I checked the simple stuff. I even got to the point where it's like, maybe it's a starter. Put a brand new starter on it. Same exact thing. Well, maybe it's ignition. We did swap ignitions at one point too. This rabbit hole is just going one step after another. So if the truck wouldn't start, I would come up here and I'd pop this apart. What's this right here? Well, this right here is the wire, the power, and the trigger to send the starter some signal so that you can fire the truck up. I'm not really exactly sure the routing on how this stuff works, but it goes hand in hand with the shutoff solenoid. But let me show you. So right now, this is going to literally simulate what was going on before. Basically, the starter was disconnected. Yeah, I checked the wire going to the starter. Make sure she's in old neutralis. Turn that AC off. That thing still works good. You hear the shutoff solenoid click on? But I got no starter. That's because this is disconnected. You go in here, you hear the fuel pump just ripping on that leader. Shutoff solenoid is charged, so it's in the on position. And what I would have to do, this truck would not start. I'd come up here and I put the old Leatherman. That basically is simulating going to your starter and running a screwdriver from the positive lead to the trigger. That's all that really is. But it's the convenience of not crawling underneath the truck because it's up there. So I was going back and forth on these things. I had checking this, check that. You can see I even swapped out this end of the wire, soldered it on, did the nice job, swapped out this complete other wire. This one ties in with the main big dog that goes down to the starter. Swapped all that out. And it would not act right. So I was like, it's got to be some of the wiring. Dove into here. See if I can get it open with the left hand. Here we go. Okay, now this is where it gets interesting. We got a very obvious idea right here. First thing, check the relay. That's that guy right there. I swapped this thing out with several other ones that are still hanging out with the truck. But I mean, that's an old school relay, probably one of the originals from the truck. I put a new one in it, used one in it, swapped them all over the place, and it still would not work. Let me show you how this system activates right here. So if you look on your relay, this one right here is charged. That's power all the time. This one over here is going to be a trigger source. So when I hit the key, this plug-in will light up and take the big power across the relay, go across. So it's going to take a little bit of energy to transmit a big amount of energy. Let's look at it real quick and show you what I'm talking about. Get this test light set up in here. Now I did all of this. I had everything was working. So you hit the key. When it lights up, that means I'm hitting the trigger. And when I had all this apart, I even took the fuse box on the backside, checked everything back there, wiggled everything around. Still, everything was good. So it would work for a little while, and then it wouldn't. And I'm checking everything. I checked my fuses. Let me show you. There's continuous power on for that relay. That wasn't continuous for the longest time. And I'll show you what was the problem. And it was funny because I actually checked this and didn't realize what had happened. But let me pop one of these bad boys out. So, double check, make sure which one's what. 40 amp ignition run is this big fuse. 40 ampere, and I robbed my trailer one right here. Oh, I got the wrong ones. Oopsie daisies. Those are for a 98 truck. And up, they'll have these slightly different ones. But I robbed this one out of my trailer one, and I'll show you what the problem was. This fuse, this one, this one, this one, this one are arguably the original fuses for this truck from 1997 or 96 or whenever the build date was on this truck. This one is that one that I put in there so that I could actually have trailer brakes. But if you look in here, you can see all these ones pretty well. All the bars were parallel, parallel, parallel. And the one right here actually got thrown away in the midst of everything the other day. But the bar for that one was slightly tilted. Let me pop this one out and I'll show you. Because you can take these things apart. You just pop this little doodad off on the side. At some point we can do this. Yeah, we'll break this one. But you can see these ones got some pretty long legs that go down in there. I mean, it's pretty easy to test one of these things because you just pop the top off, see if it's got power right there. These other ones, they'll have let's run the test light on it. Should have, because this is going to have power right here. Power on, power on. So you can check, well, that one's probably key on, but you can check this one to see if it's good fuse because you can just test it on both sides. Somewhere here, yeah. See? Test it on both sides. One of these, all you literally can do without getting too in depth with it, like I should have but didn't, is you just go onto it and you can check both sides, but it don't matter because it's just a big loop. But what had happened is mine for the ignition was broken down there, so it would give me a ignition every once in a while. And when I get up here and rattle stuff around, evidently it moved the fuse over just a little bit. And the time that I was actually checking everything, that thing was touching. So when I checked the fuse, it was good. But the other day when I was messing around with it, it was literally like a full width away from actually touching. I know what you guys are thinking. This guy considers himself knowledgeable on these trucks, a mechanic at all. Just one of those deals. It's you simply checked it, but it happened to be the perfect storm where it was in the position that it was actually showing the fuse was good. I cannot honestly believe, after all the trouble that went into this, that it came down to one of these fuses. Now this fuse is, if you go to Napa, they're probably like $5-6. You buy them on Amazon, you can buy, I don't know, 20 of them for $8. Figure that out. But that fuse literally held this truck up from being driven for over a year. Like to the point where I was like, just take it off insurance. It's just going to be parked here. Just swapped it over and we're good to go. And I honestly thought I had more fuses down at the shop. Those go to newer trucks. But can you believe that? So many comments when this thing was, I mean, it acted up when I was doing a dump run. That's like acting up at the boat ramp. You don't want to do that. There's so many people pissed off being there and just want to get to where they're going when they're doing a dump run. You go across the scales towing the dump trailer, you're going to scale in, and then it don't start after you talk to the gal working there. And you're like, oh, that's not going to be good for everybody's attitude behind you that's already mad because, well, nothing ever flows perfectly at a government room. So anyway, now the truck is back in operation. It's got a new starter in it. I did put a different ignition, but it had a different key, so I took the old one, put it back on it. New wiring going down to the bottom. We're bypass stuff. I fixed more wiring underneath the bottom that I didn't really need to do, but I checked it anyway. And now the truck's back in action. So let's go ahead and take it for a quick drive, because why not? Yeah, boy. So these are for the newer trucks, and I was equipped with more of those. Couple things I still need to work on, but I'm glad the AC works, I'll tell you that much. Overhead console, which is kind of nice. It doesn't tell me that it's 106 degrees right now. So we'll just pretend it's 70. Whole car coming. And then for some reason I got an ABS light, and this is non-ABS truck. Hey, I'm driving up Jeep Trail. Got a short throw shifter for the 5600 here. It feels alright. This trans is out of my 04. I think it had about 330 on it. With a single disc in front of it, it shifts really nice. It's my first 12 valve that I've ever had. It had an exhaust brake. Doesn't quite have the pep that my 96 does, but now that I got that truck back, I want to do a little bit of investigating to see why that truck just flat out rips. This one, I mean, it takes it a minute to even get 30 psi boost, and I've checked for exhaust leaks and all that. Got a brand new turbo, but might be something simple. Don't know. We'll figure it out in due time. Running and driving again is all that matters. I don't know the exact amount of hours I have into this truck, but it's got to be a lot. A lot. Didn't help that I had to put a new engine and trans in it because, well, the trans was automatic, so it was fine, but still had to swap her out. The old trans that came out of this was the one that came out of my 96 when I originally swapped it. It is, it's living in another 12 valve right now, driving around locally. And my boy hit me up and asked if I had a transmission for 12 valve, and I said, matter of fact, I do. I did put about 10,000 miles on it when I was in my 96. And my grandma didn't put maybe 10 on it when it was in here. Working good, still working good. Figure that out. Oh yeah, another telltale sign that that fuse is a problem. Dang windows won't roll up and down. A lot of stuff goes through that one fuse. Just stupid stuff. You never can account for it, but never rule it out. The small details are what truly matter. And I'm just glad I figured it out, because this thing had literally stumbled me and I spent hours and hours messing with it. Just the time that I looked at it close, the fuse was doing its job. Figured that out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think about old grandma's truck. And it was pretty neat that grandma got to drive this thing before she passed away. One more time at least, you know, after getting it all restored and everything. I mean, with the air conditioning working, just amazing. Freaking nice. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.